Blackwood High School was one of the oldest schools in the city. For over 100 years, its halls had witnessed countless stories, secrets, and tragedies. But none were as terrifying as the legend of Room 307. At the very end of the third-floor corridor stood a classroom that had remained locked for 15 years. No student was allowed near it. Teachers avoided talking about it. Even the principal refused to answer questions. The story began 15 years ago when a student named Ryan Carter walked into room 307 for Class 1 ordinary morning. He never came out. When the lesson ended, the teacher entered the classroom and found it completely empty. Ryan was gone. The windows were locked. There was no second exit, no evidence, no explanation. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The police searched the entire school. They questioned everyone. But Ryan Carter was never found. After that day, room 307 was permanently sealed. Yet strange rumors continued to spread. Students claimed they heard whispers coming from behind the door late at night. Some swore they had seen a boy sitting at the last desk through the small window. Others reported hearing their names being called from inside the empty classroom. Most people laughed at the stories, until they experienced something themselves. One morning, 4 friends, Jake Turner, Emma Brooks, Noah Reed, and Lily Parker, were standing in the hallway discussing the legend. Jake smirked. "I bet the whole thing is fake." Emma crossed her arms. "Then go open the door." Jake laughed. "Maybe I will." An elderly security guard overheard them. The moment he heard Jake's words, his face turned pale. Slowly, he walked toward them. His voice was barely above a whisper. "If you want to stay alive," he looked directly into Jake's eyes, "never open that door." The fear in his expression was real, and that was the moment their nightmare truly began. After that day, Jake couldn't stop thinking about room 307. The old security guard's warning kept replaying in his mind. Still, he convinced himself that it was just a scary story, nothing more. Emma wasn't so sure. She spent hours in the school library researching Ryan Carter's disappearance. She found old newspaper articles, yearbooks, and archived school records. What she discovered disturbed her. Ryan wasn't the only student who had disappeared. Several students over the past 15 years had supposedly transferred to other schools. Yet there were no records of where they went. It was as if they had simply vanished. That evening, the 4 friends met at a small cafe near the school. The topic quickly returned to room 307. "My brother says he heard voices coming from that room," Noah said quietly. Jake rolled his eyes. "Everyone has a story." Noah looked serious. He wasn't joking. Silence filled the table. Finally, Jake leaned forward. "Let's settle this." Everyone looked at him. "This Friday night," he smiled, "we break into the school." Emma stared at him. "You're serious?" "Completely. We open room 307 and find out the truth." Noah immediately shook his head. "That's a terrible idea." "Then don't come." After several minutes of arguing, all 4 eventually agreed. Friday night, 11:45 p.m., they would enter through the back gate. Then they would go straight to room 307. The plan seemed simple, but later that night, Emma received a text message from an unknown number. The message contained only 3 words: "Don't open it." A second message appeared moments later: "He is still waiting." Emma immediately tried calling the number. No answer. A few minutes later, the number no longer existed, as if it had never been there at all. Friday night arrived. Dark clouds covered the sky. The streets around Blackwood High School were empty. At exactly 11:45 p.m., the 4 friends met near the school's back gate. The building looked completely different at night. Its dark windows resembled hundreds of empty eyes staring into the darkness. Jake cut through the old chain securing the gate. The metallic snap echoed through the silent night. For a brief moment, Noah considered turning back, but it was too late. They were already inside. The school corridors felt cold and lifeless. Every footstep echoed through the darkness. The beam from their flashlights danced across lockers, classroom doors, and faded photographs hanging on the walls. As they approached the staircase leading to the 3rd floor, Emma suddenly froze. "Did you hear that?" Everyone stopped. At first, there was only silence. Then they heard it, a faint whisper, somewhere above them. The words were impossible to understand. Lily's hands began to shake. "Let's leave," Jake forced a smile. "It's probably the wind." But even he didn't believe his own explanation. Slowly, they climbed the stairs. The temperature dropped with every step. By the time they reached the third floor, their breath was visible in the air. The corridor stretched endlessly before them. At the far end stood a single door, room 307, the classroom that had remained locked for 15 years, the classroom where Ryan Carter had vanished. As they approached, Noah noticed deep scratch marks beneath the door. Marks that looked as though someone had desperately tried to escape. Then suddenly, tap! Everyone froze. The sound had come from inside the classroom. A few seconds later, tap, tap. It sounded like fingers drumming against a desk. Jake slowly moved toward the small glass window. He shined his flashlight inside. At first, he saw nothing. Then his blood turned cold. For a split second, he saw a boy sitting at the last desk, motionless, head lowered, waiting. Jake stumbled backward. "There's someone in there." Emma's face went white. "What? I saw him." Noah immediately stepped away from the door. "We need to leave, right now." Then a voice emerged from the darkness beyond the door. Soft, weak, almost broken. "Help me!" The four friends stood frozen. The voice came again. "Please, open the door!" Suddenly, every light in the corridor flickered. On, off, on, off. The entire hallway seemed to tremble. Then another sound filled the air. Laughter, not one voice. Many voices. Children laughing inside room 307. And finally, a whisper came from the other side of the door. A whisper that made their hearts stop. Finally, the whisper echoed through the hallway. Finally, for several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The cold air felt heavy around them. Jake stared at the old lock hanging from the door. His heart was pounding so hard that he could hear it in his ears. "We need to go," Noah whispered. "Now!" But Jake couldn't look away. The voice inside had sounded real. Not like a ghost. Not like a recording. Like someone trapped inside. Someone begging for help. Slowly, he reached toward the lock. Emma grabbed his arm. "Jake, don't!" He looked at her. "What if someone really needs help?" Emma didn't answer, because deep down she knew that whatever was inside room 307 was not normal. The hallway lights flickered again. For a brief moment, everything went dark. And when the lights returned, the boy was standing behind the window. Everyone screamed. A pale teenage boy, dark hair, empty eyes. His face was pressed against the glass, watching them, motionless. Then the lights flickered again, and he was gone. Noah stumbled backward. "Oh my God!" Lily began crying. "We have to leave!" But Jake's hand was already on the lock. With a loud metallic click, the lock opened. Silence. Complete silence. Even the whispers stopped. The old classroom door slowly creaked open by itself. Creak. A wave of icy air rushed out. The smell hit them immediately. Dust, mold, and something else. Something rotten. Something old. Jake raised his flashlight and stepped inside. The others reluctantly followed. The classroom looked impossible. Everything appeared brand new. The desks were clean. The floor was spotless. The chalkboard looked freshly washed. It was as if the room had been frozen in time. Yet the rest of the school was old and worn. Emma slowly scanned the room. "There's no way." Then Noah pointed toward the chalkboard. His voice trembled. "Guys." Written across the board in large white letters were the words, "Welcome back, students." Underneath it was a list of names. Jake, Emma, Noah, Lily. All 4 names, written in fresh chalk, as if someone had expected them, as if someone knew they were coming. A cold feeling settled in Emma's stomach. How is that possible? Nobody answered, because nobody knew. Then Jake noticed something strange. At the very back of the classroom stood a single desk. different from all the others, older, darker, covered in scratches. On its surface, someone had carved a name, Ryan Carter. The room suddenly became colder. The lights above them flickered, once, twice, 3 times. Then all the classroom doors slammed shut at once. Bang! The sound shook the entire room. Lily screamed. Noah rushed toward the door and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't move. The door was locked again. From the outside, the 4 friends looked at each other. Panic filled their faces, and then they heard it. A voice, coming from somewhere behind them. A voice that hadn't been there before. A boy's voice, soft, broken, filled with sadness. You shouldn't have come here. The flashlight beam slowly turned toward the back desk, toward Ryan Carter's desk, and sitting there was the boy they had seen in the window, watching them, smiling.
Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The boy sitting at the back desk looked exactly 16 years old, exactly the same age Ryan Carter had been when he disappeared. His school uniform was old-fashioned, his skin was unnaturally pale, his eyes seemed too dark, too empty, too deep, yet somehow he looked human, almost. The boy tilted his head slightly, then he smiled. "Hello?" His voice sounded normal. That made it even more terrifying. Jake swallowed hard. Are you Ryan?" The smile widened. "I used to be." The room instantly felt colder. Emma's breathing became faster. "What do you mean?" Ryan slowly stood up. The wooden floor creaked beneath his feet. For a moment, he looked like an ordinary teenager. Then the classroom lights flickered, and his shadow stretched across the room. Much longer than it should have, much darker, almost alive. Ryan looked toward the chalkboard. "They told me someone would come. They always send someone." Noah stepped back. "Who sends people?" Ryan didn't answer. Instead, he looked at the classroom door. His smile disappeared. Fear suddenly appeared in his eyes. Real fear. For the first time. Then he whispered, "He's coming." The room shook. A deep rumbling sound echoed through the walls. The desks began vibrating. Dust fell from the ceiling. Emma felt her stomach drop. "Who is coming?" Ryan's face turned pale, even paler than before. Then he looked directly at them and said the words that would haunt them forever. "The teacher." The moment Ryan whispered the words, "the teacher," the entire classroom shook violently. The lights exploded one by one. Glass shattered across the floor. Darkness swallowed the room. Only the weak beams of the students' flashlights remained. Then came the footsteps. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy, slow, deliberate. They echoed from somewhere outside the classroom. Every step felt closer. Every step felt wrong. Ryan backed away from the door. For the first time, genuine terror appeared in his eyes. "He found you!" The footsteps stopped. Silence. A terrible silence. Then the classroom door slowly opened. Creak. A tall figure stood in the doorway, a man wearing an old teacher's suit. His face was hidden in shadow. His hands were unnaturally long, and around his neck hung dozens of student ID cards. Some looked decades old, some looked new, far too new. The teacher stepped into the room. The air immediately became freezing cold. The students could barely breathe. He carried an old attendance book under one arm. Without looking at them, he opened it. Dust drifted into the air. Then he spoke. His voice sounded like dozens of voices speaking at once. "Class is now in session." The room trembled. The teacher slowly began reading names from different years, students who had vanished, students nobody remembered. Every time he called a name, a ghostly student appeared in one of the desks, silent, motionless, waiting. The classroom quickly filled with pale figures, dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all staring forward, all trapped forever. Then the teacher turned a page. Jake's heart stopped. The next names were theirs. Jake Turner. A ghostly desk appeared. Emma Brooks. Another desk appeared. Noah Reed. Lily Parker. The room felt like it was closing around them. Ryan suddenly stepped forward. "No!" The teacher slowly turned his head toward Ryan. The darkness covering his face shifted. For a split second, the student saw something impossible. There was no face. only darkness, an endless black void. Ryan stood between the teacher and the four friends. "You promised," Ryan shouted. "You said if I stayed, nobody else would have to." The teacher remained silent. Then he slowly raised one hand. Ryan screamed. His body began dissolving into black smoke. The students watched in horror. Ryan looked at them one last time. For the first time in 15 years, he smiled. A real smile. Not a frightening one, a human one. "Run!" The classroom exploded with light. The walls cracked. The desks shattered. Ghostly students screamed. The teacher roared with rage. Jake grabbed Emma's hand. "Go!" The four friends ran toward the door. The entire classroom was collapsing around them. Behind them, Ryan continued holding the teacher back, his body fading away, his sacrifice buying them time. The hallway outside twisted and warped. Doors appeared and disappeared. Shadows crawled across the walls, but they kept running, faster, harder, toward the staircase, toward freedom. Behind them, the teacher's screams echoed through the school. The building shook violently. The lights burst. Windows shattered. Finally, they reached the front entrance. Jake slammed against the doors. They flew open. Moonlight flooded inside. The four friends stumbled outside. The moment they crossed the school's boundary, everything stopped. Silence. Complete silence. They turned around. Blackwood High School stood peacefully in the darkness. No screams, no shaking, no signs that anything had happened. Room 307's windows were dark, once again, as if the nightmare had never existed. The next morning, police investigated the school. They found room 307 unlocked. Inside was nothing unusual. No ghosts, no teacher, no Ryan. Just an empty classroom. But one thing had changed. On the back desk, carved deeply into the wood, were fresh words. "Thank you." Months later, the four friends graduated. Life slowly returned to normal, or at least they tried to believe it had. One evening, Emma visited the town library. While looking through old school records, she found something strange. A photograph from 15 years ago, a class picture. She froze. There, standing among the students, was Ryan Carter, smiling, alive, finally free. But that wasn't what terrified her. Standing in the back row was another figure, a teacher, tall, shadowed, his face hidden, the same teacher. Emma dropped the